So first, when you're going to go to bleed the tail, you'll need the Vacutainer sleeve, which is something that we save and reuse. You need a Vacutainer needle, and you'll need a Vacutainer tube. And this can either be the purple top or the red top serum separator, depending on what you're collecting blood for. So to put these together, you twist it, and you see there's threads here, and that actually threads right into your sleeve. And so these are double needle. You'll see on this side there's a needle as well. So we'll use that to bleed. When you grab their tail, if you grab their tail and you see where it naturally bends, if you grab it there, when you go to jack their tail, they won't be able to fight you as much with their tail. So for example, see if I grab it here, her tail bends really easy and she can fight me quite well. But you see it bends there. If I grab it there and I jack her tail, I have more control of her tail. So when you go to bleed, you can see down the middle of the tail, there's a groove, and you can kind of see it, but you can really feel it, a groove right down the middle. And that's where we're going to aim for. And then also, we're going to palpate and feel the vertebrae. So right here is a divot, and there's a vertebrae, and there's a divot, and there's a vertebrae. And we're going to bleed in those divots. If more than one person is going to bleed a cow on any day, the first person needs to bleed more distally. So it wants to go in the second or third divot, so that the next person can bleed closer to the cow. That way, if you blow the vein, they can still get blood up closer to the cow. So we want to go in the middle of the tail this way, and in between vertebrae this way. The other thing, when you put the needle in, you're going to put it in perpendicular to the dorsal side of the tail. Not perpendicular to the ground and not perpendicular to the cow, but you see when I jack the tail, it's not perfectly straight up and down. So my needle's actually going to be at about this angle, which is still perpendicular to the dorsum of the tail. The other thing, when I put the needle in, I'm gonna go all the way in, and I'm gonna hit bone, and that is normal. It feels like you hit bone, and that is what you're doing, and that's what you need to do. And when I'm doing cows, I put it in, and then I will put this in and let go, because she's going to jump. Some cows just stand there. A lot of cows jump around, and if you hold on to this, they're going to jump off your needle, and that's your one stick for the day. So we need to be able to stick it in and hopefully let it stay in there. Then, once they're done dancing, you put your tube in here and you push it on. It's called a Vacutainer because it has suction, so it will suction out the blood. Don't worry about orienting your needle to make sure you're in the vein until after you put your tube on. Once your tube is on, you may see that it starts filling right away, and that's perfect. Then you don't have to move. If you put your tube on and it's not bleeding, you may need to pull out a little bit. You may need to redirect to left or right or front or back if you're not perfectly in the center. So now I'm going to bleed. You see that I have actually hit, looks like the artery rather than the vein. We let it fill up. I always take the tube off before pulling the needle out. And then I will hold that off for a second. And oftentimes they do develop a hematoma, whether you've done it right or wrong. I think it's obvious I hit the artery there instead of the vein.